I feel like Brian never thought that he was going to be enough.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Is this image of strangling squirrels, is it legit? Is it from Brian's Pinterest? According to the article, and I'll post a link to that in the description, Brian Laundrie shared an image of these squirrels that seem to be wrestling. Some people think that it could be something more intimate and friendly, but it's in the bleak folder on Pinterest. That's certainly according to the article. But I don't see it there, do you? Apparently it was shared there. Unless I'm missing something, I simply don't see it there. In any event, if the image is legit, was Brian trying to communicate some sort of cryptic message? I guess this is the Petito case version of the doll in the plastic mat image from the Chris Watts case. On the one hand, Brian may simply have had time on his hands after another fight with Gabby, or was suffering from insomnia, and in his browsing on Pinterest, which was apparently his favorite social media as a graphic designer, there's certainly a lot of content, a lot of different images and things going on Pinterest. And so while he was doing this, perhaps he came upon this bizarre image. Think about this bizarre image and bizarre design. Perhaps it resonated with how he felt, and if he included it, did Gabby see it? On the other hand, perhaps Brian was simply amused by what had happened and was happening. Think about the Moab incident. Perhaps he still thought of it as kind of a joke, and perhaps he thought of them as, it was kind of a storm in a teacup, as two little squirrels fighting, but in the context of this huge kind of spectacular environment kind of thing, or in a world that is this dystopian world that is sort of crumbling around them. So one wonders, perhaps even he thought of it almost as symbolic, their world disintegrating, symbolic of the fate of a larger world, which is kind of the emblematic of some of the themes in Fight Club, where you have this one person's world that is breaking in some ways, and then if you look at Project Mayhem, it expresses itself there on a much, much larger scale, involving a lot more people. Just an interesting thing to consider. Or if the image isn't linked to Brian, then it's all about our projection and transference. The wrestling squirrels, whether legit or not, are a clumsy anagram for a Cleon Peterson work. Do you notice? I do think in Quiet Men, the violence of the mind eventually manifests as actual violence. If there's enough stress for long enough escalation of tensions for long enough. I'm speaking specifically about Quiet Men who sort of bottle the stuff inside, they don't express it, there's no sort of safety valve. So that violence of the mind that is inside Quiet Men, and you see it to some extent in Brian's art, that seems to be something that will eventually manifest if it's not allowed to come out in some other fashion, such as sport, or dealing with one's emotions in a constructive way, such as just by talking about it. Think about it, the world is created by a series of utterances. In the Bible, we are shown the operative psychology as well, with the creation story. God says something and then it's done. Let there be light, let there be these creatures walking the earth, and then it happens, right? And so all of these things are created by a series of utterances. But there has to be a thought prior to the utterances. For creation to take place, there's got to be first a seed, a thought seed in the mind before it becomes words. Thus, thoughts plus words equals deeds. Thoughts and words are the antecedents of deeds. This is why, whoever you are, be mindful of your own thoughts. And if you can't do that, be mindful of your words, for they may lead you into deeds that you may eventually wake up to wondering, how did this happen? Or, I didn't mean for this to happen. And yet every thought, every word is a link in the chain to the deed at the end of it. You can change outcomes, actions, deeds by changing your words, and ultimately changing how you think about things. In the Gabby Petito case and Brian Laundrie case, one of the things we look at is we wonder, wow, did this tragedy really have to happen? No, it didn't. But if the thoughts and words, and to some extent posts on social media had been different, considered in a different way, alternatives considered, the deeds at the end may have been different too. Food for thought, perhaps. So I'm not going to take it further than that. I'm also going to take a break from YouTube for a while, and I will be back a little bit later. In the meantime, I will be continuing with some coverage on Patreon. So if you're missing True Crime Rocket Science, head there. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Like, share, leave a comment. And I'll see you guys next time.